Hello, my name is Knut Benedict, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about the operational concept and show some samples of the fast time simulation software, Simulation Augmented Maneuvering SAMMON. And what I want to show is that in contrary to a static maneuvering booklet like this volume, where all the maneuvering elements are fixed as they are measured at the shipyard trials, we have here a much more better flexible tool, which on one hand is exactly the same for the maneuvers on the shipyard trial, and it can do much more. So the mathematical model is to the same complexity and even better than in a full mission ship handling simulator, but on a nice screen. So I'm using this touch screen for the presentation, that you can see how it's being operated, but I could do the same on my small tiny laptop, either in a simulation center, in a lecturing room, or on board ships, because then you don't need this volume anymore. And the best thing is, it's adjusted immediately to the axis scale. So if we scale it down, go now to maybe 1.5 or even a little bit zooming in. So you can see the ship shape here in the environment of an electronic chart. To explain the operational interface, on the left side there are all the elements like engine order telegraph, bow thruster, stern thruster, rudder. This kind of ship is a twin screw vessel, so with 2 engine orders and 2 rudders, which can be used either in synchronous mode or in separate mode. In the center is the electronic chart where the results of these settings can be immediately shown. So if I change, for instance, the rudder, like this here, then you can immediately see what happens to the ship. And it's, so to say, in the background, it's calculated every second you get a new input, and the shapes are shown here for a certain time frame. Now it's for 6 minutes, but I can enlarge it to 8 or whatever, up to 24 minutes. Sometimes it's helpful, sometimes not. And the final and best option is, we have here down there a magic time slider, which allows to move our ship along this already predicted track. So if I move it like here, like this here, then you can immediately see where the ship is after 140 seconds, and the navigation data on this position are shown here on top. So the heading is now 320, the course over ground is 330, so drift angle of 13 degrees. And here are the actual rudder and bow thruster and whatsoever. So all the data related to this ship shape move already forward. It's being compressed in these 2 items. Okay, this is the principle of this. The prediction length can be adjusted here. So it's now 60 minutes, for instance. And the different maneuvers, which I can show here, is now a little bit more than in the maneuvering booklet. Here, for instance, it's now from 25 degrees to port. So in the wheelhouse poster, you have it only maybe for 30 or 35 degrees. So this is what you have in the wheelhouse poster. And you have it only for full ahead. Now we adjusted it to 30% ahead, so the ship is starting here with 6.2 knots. If I want to accelerate or use it for a little bit more faster, okay, then you see this is a turning circle for about 80%, and this is for full ahead. What you might have noticed is that the turning circle is not changing so much. So we already see so the diameter or advance and transfer is not changing. So you can immediately see what happens to that chip. And if you want to see how this turning circle might change under wind, then okay, then we can show it under wind. Maybe a wind condition for 30 knots. I have to change it here or on my laptop computer. So it's now maybe 30 knots wind speed. Okay, then you see immediately wind from north with 35, with the 30 knots, you can see it here, is changing the turning circle like this. So you never would see that in a maneuvering booklet, for instance. So many things can be shown immediately, and I will give you some samples what also can be seen from this tool. So I change it now back to midships, and I change also the wind to show what might also be possible. So maybe the thruster effect. I compare it now with a speed of about, let's say 4 knots, 4.2 knots. And if I use the rudder for turning circle, maybe like this, what we see is that the swept path due to the drift angle is very, very big. Because the pivot point, and this can be shown here, the pivot point here is to the bow, and so it's a high drift angle. What happens if I use, instead of the rudder, I use the thruster, maybe the bow thruster. So I switch the rudder back to midships, and I use the bow thruster instead. So what we see immediately, that the ship shapes are lined up. There's nearly no effect of swept path, and maybe the speed is a little bit too high for thrust effectiveness, so we decrease it now. And then you see, okay, the shapes are even pointing a little bit outside, and the pivot point is close to the aft. So it's changing, but if you want to go with your ship in a very narrow channel, you should better steer the ship with a thruster, with a bow thruster, in contrary to the rudder or the stern thruster, which is immediately shown by this sample. Or if you want to really make effect of the highest turning capacity, you would go in a way to split the engines. For instance, here we move the ship a little bit, how to say, to this position, maybe up to here, and we are now speeding with 2.7 knots. If I set a maneuvering point here, then I can make visible what might be the turning circle due to rudders. This is 35 degrees. So it's like this. Can I improve the turning capability maybe by split the engines and split the rudder? We can have a look. If we go with that further ahead, and this is stern, then you see, oh, we are much more better. So these kind of effects are not to be found in a maneuvering booklet. Here you can do it immediately, and it's scaled again. It's scaled to the electronic chart already, so you don't have to calculate turning circles or stopping distances. Back to stopping, for instance. If instead of a rudder maneuver, I want to discuss the stopping capabilities. So the engine orders are now being synchronized. I have to go back maybe to the first, and I can do that. I go back to the first shape, and now I use a forehead. So the ship is now going very fast with nearly full speed. It's now a little bit ahead. So here we are, and here we want to change now to the, so we are arriving here with full speed, 22 knots, and now I want to check out what is the effect of reversing the engine. Then immediately you can see, okay, 100% astern. We can see the ship is moving from here to there, and then it's going maybe astern if I maintain this part. So now we are already going astern. So this is the position where the ship stops, and then it's going backwards. Do you have any idea to change the stopping distance, which is about 1,600 meters, 650 meters about for these cruise ships? Can you reduce the stopping distance? Yeah, you can. Maybe by what? Maybe using the rudder. Instead, maybe with 30 degrees, so the stopping distance is like that only. Or instead of using both rudders to starboard, we could split the rudders and say, okay, this rudder is going to maybe to outward. By the way, this ship is being able to use the rudder for about 70 degrees. We will see the effect immediately. So this is the stopping distance with two rudders turned to the outside. So the stopping distance is already 300 meters less. And if you use your rudders full to 70 degree, like here, then the stopping distance might even less in this part. Or using the effect of split engines, all these things can be used. Okay, this is only to show something more than the maneuvering booklet. I will change it a little bit now to another facility, for instance, for making full concepts of maneuvers. For instance, like man overboard, person overboard maneuvers. Normally you would say, okay, I go for a normal ship with 35 degrees, but in this case we would end up with very high roll angles, and so it's about 5 degrees, so it's better to take less. Let's assume it's 15 degrees, so maneuver you would prefer, maybe Williams turn. So we have to go to 60 degree, 68, 59.7, so 60 degree, and here we would have to add a new maneuvering point. I will switch off the pivot point presentation. And here we would add to reverse the rudder to minus, can I do this part? Minus, so this is the fastest method to reverse the rudder. I don't have to do it here. And then we go with the ship, so the turning speed will go down, and we go to the other side, like this, and about maybe 20 degrees ahead of the opposite course, the return track It's about 200. Like here, we would put the rudder to amidship, and add maneuvering point, rudder amidship, like this. We would still have to turn it a little bit further. And then we would add a maneuvering point, and here we would go to amidship. So the ship would go in this direction. If we are not satisfied with this maneuver, because we are not very close to the initial track, then we would be able to reshape the maneuver. For instance, go into the edit mode. We go to maneuvering point number 1, and for this ship we would have to turn the ship a little bit more to the later point, maybe like this, maybe even one more, and then we have to go into the next maneuvering point at the point number 2. Then we are here, and we will turn the ship a little bit further up, like this, and then we are really close to our intended maneuvering objective. So this should show how you can shape and edit a maneuver. And the last part is, this is now for a cruise ship, AIDA Blue, but you could also change it to other vessels which are in the database. For instance, in a situation 4, and here are the list of the maneuver of the ships available, maybe for a podded ship. So we have here now the azimuth thruster configuration, and if you use it here for the, then we could go maybe with a certain speed. Now we are going with 20 knots, and if we are using the azimuth propulsion system here, you turn the ports to starboard, but the port ship will go to port side. So any objects of these discussions and the lecturing of azimuth propulsion system can also be covered by this tool. So, as a final summary, I would like to tell you that it's a unique kind of software which in a very short time, very effectively can be used to demonstrate and to find out maneuvering concepts, and it allows of a discussion for ship handling much more beyond the maneuvering booklet. It's not a pure fixed maneuvering booklet, it's more an intelligent magic machine where you can put the questions and find the answers for anything you want to know about ship maneuvering. Thank you very much.